Hey and welcome to BoatProjectY. Thank you for joining us as we unveil the secrets behind transforming this extraordinary vessel and discover the hard work, the exceptional craftsmanship and the unyielding spirit of adventure that accompanies every build. Hey and welcome back to Project Y. First of all, let me thank you for sticking with me. You all know how much I appreciate your loyalty. And because the last episode came out a little later than planned due to a combination of work, family life, and the occasional reminder that there's only 24 hours in a day, I thought I'd start this episode with a little recap. Last time it all began with the nerve-wracking moment of jacking up this boat. I still get goosebumps thinking about the exact moment this 24-ton lady decided to, settle herself in the new position. Let's just say my heart rate briefly exceeded the normal Monday morning beat. Once there was enough clearance between the hull and the boat stands, I could finally start cutting away the large degraded hull plates. That also meant I could weld in the very last replacement ribs. Something that simply wasn't possible before because the hull had sagged ever so slightly under its own weight. Once these last ribs into place, we carefully ground small openings between the ribs and the existing hull plates, creating just enough space to slide the new steel into position. Simple in theory, slightly more adventurous in practice. And like with more things on this boat, you never really know whether your brilliant plan is actually going to work until you're more than halfway through it. Learn by doing. But wait. Before we rushed to close the hull again, I suddenly had something I never had before. A huge hole in the side of the aft boat. And believe it or not, that was actually good news. For the first time, I had proper access to parts deep inside her belly that had been impossible to reach before. So, naturally, everything was cleaned, every trace of rust was removed, and a rust embitterer was applied. The very first test fit of the new hull plate. And I'm incredibly happy to report that all those hours of measuring, checking, measuring again, scratching our heads and pretending we knew exactly what we were doing, it paid off. The fit was millimeter perfect. Honestly, even better than I dare hope. The plates were carefully clamped into position from the bottom upwards and then gradually bent into shape using a jack and a heavy timber beam. Before being tack welded into place. Once the big panels were secured, it was time for the fiddly bits. Wherever the steel didn't quite line up perfectly, I used the dog and wedge method to persuade it into submission. So, there we go. Almost done. One plate, almost in place. Yeehaw! We're being extremely careful throughout this process. Only one section of old hull is cut away at a time. The replacement steel is fitted and fully welded before the next section is removed. That way, the structural integrity of the ship remains somewhat intact. Without that approach, well, there's always a small possibility that the boat decides to crumble under its own weight, right? Even without the weight resting on the boat stance anymore, you simply don't take chances with 24 tons of steel.
Yes, yes.
Oh yeah. It was a strange sight though, seeing such a massive hole in the hull. The last time we'd opened her up this much was right at the bow. But seeing fresh steel finally becoming part of the ship again, well, that's a comfortable feeling. We spent countless hours aligning, checking, discussing, adjusting, and occasionally starting over. Because this is one of those jobs where close enough simply is not good enough. Steel has become painfully expensive these days. Mistakes are harder to categorize under, well, educational. They're very expensive. Fortunately, once again, we're absolutely thrilled with the result. Wauw, dat is wel heel snelheid met alles, hè? Since the boat was already lifted, we took the opportunity to clean every last spot we've never been able to reach before. So out came the trusty Terco disc once again. And once the steel was clean, well, my princess submerged once more. Armed with nothing more than a paint roller, a tin of primer, and far more enthusiasm than I usually manage in, well, these temperatures, she gave every freshly cleaned area its protective coat. Beautiful. And let's be honest, every milestone deserves a little celebration, right? Now for the less glamorous news. There's one part of this boat I've never really shown you before. And there's a reason for that. I've been avoiding this particular job for a very, very long time. Unfortunately or not, the time has finally come. At the very lowest point in this boat sat what was most likely an old freshwater tank lined with Portland cement, at least what used to be Portland cement. By now, it had deteriorated so badly that there was only one option. Remove absolutely everything, inspect the steel underneath and protect it before rust had another chance to claim victory. They use Portland cement not because cement and steel are the ideal combination, they aren't. It was used because it solved several practical problems with the materials and technology available at that time. The idea was keep the oxygen away from the steel, reduce condensation and create a durable, maintenance-free surface. The center beam wasn't exactly inspiring confidence neither. It had to come out. In its place came a much stronger and considerably thicker replacement. Here's a quick bonus tip. Don't buy cheap grinding discs or cutting discs for that matter. Seriously. They always end up costing more because you use twice as many, and somehow they seem to cut worse. Trust me. I've been there. My air chisel got another chance to shine with his friend the Terco disc. Together they did most of the heavy work. After that came the angle grinder fitted with a wire brush. And let me tell you, I can still taste rotten Portland cement and whatever substance was in that tank days later. It's a very unique flavor and not one that I recommend. The first sections were fairly easy to reach thanks to the giant hole in the hull, but after that, well, things became a little more creative. So allow me to present you yoga for boat owners. In our opening pose, we have the extended lizard. Hold this pose for 15 minutes. And then smoothly transition into the upward resting cow, before finishing with the ever popular fully stretched sleeping snake. By the way, none of these positions are recognized by professional yoga instructors, but every boat owner and restaurator knows them by heart. With temperatures climbing higher every day, this was a serious workout, but we're incredibly happy with the progress. The new center beam is finally back where it belongs, far stronger than before, and the new steel is now ready to enjoy another 60 years in a moist environment. Hopefully with a little less drama than the previous 60. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see each other very soon, I hope. Until the next time, ahoy my friends.